and welcome to this level 3 class with ProAlign. I'm Sally and I'll be taking you through this mat work sequence today. We're going to start off on the floor and you're going to need a tennis ball. We're going to start with some hip releases. So we'll be in a lying position and just pop the ball underneath the hips, just resting on soft tissue here and melting. If you want to, you can add in a little knee release up and down. Now the ball wants to be just to the side of the sacrum. So we're working around here at the moment. Remember, we want to be melting onto the ball and just looking for maybe some active areas of tension. Melting down, just gently allowing that knee to open and close. Have a little move around at the back of the hip area. See if you can find a new area of tension. Breathe into it and melt. I'm going to bring the ball a little bit higher now, so coming onto glute med, so the pelvis will just tilt a little bit towards the side of the ball. And again, we're looking for areas of tension. Ooh, there's one. And just melt and breathe into it. With regards to sensations traveling anywhere else, you certainly don't want anything traveling down your leg. If you do, you may be resting on your sciatic nerve or a branch of, so just get off the ball and move. Move to another area of your hip. If it's just a small referral zone, then it might just be from a latent or active trigger point. So you can just rest and breathe into it. Okay, so we're going to come on to the other side. So again, the ball will be near to the sacrum and we're just going to sit and melt here. Now obviously if you're used to doing ball releases into the back of your hip, you can pause the video here and spend a little bit more time running through this. Or if you have an area that you particularly need to work on. You don't have to do this part of the video in real time. And then we're going to move on to glute med. So again, we rotate the pelvis a little bit. Working into some trigger points here. And that is most definitely where mine hang out. Good. All right. So, having created a little bit of space here, we're actually going to go straight into our side lying work. So, either resting with your head on your arm, elongated, or with a little pillow, we're going to come into side lying deep hip rotators. Heels are stacked in line with your hips, body long, underneath waist lifted, deep tummy connected. And we're just going to have a slight press of our top heel down on our bottom heel. Hold, 2, 3, and release. And again, gentle press. And remember, we're just looking for that slight swelling or filling in between the hip bone and your sitting bone. Just check that your butt muscle is soft as you do this. And check in that the side of the hip is soft and the front of the hip is soft. This is very deep. It may almost be imperceivable that something's happening. You just want to feel this little band of tension here. Nice and gentle. Okay, now just fold the heels up. We come into clams level 2. Long waist. Keep the heels connected together. And then the hip rolls back into the socket. Checking in here. Head and neck relaxed and forwards. Underneath waist lifted. Collarbones broad. Deep tummy connected. Breathing into the upper rib cage. Breathing into the front of the belly. Just watching again that the pelvis doesn't roll backwards. So a little lift and lower. We should feel this working into this upper area of the hip here. Good. Let's just hold this up there. And lower. Extend the legs away from you now. And we're going to come into our double leg lift. So again, nice and stacked, tummy connected, space in your underneath waist. Elongate both legs up and hold. From this position, top leg lift. So we're maintaining tension in the underneath inner thigh, We're maintaining our balance, nicely stacked. If you want to, you can put your hand on your upper waist and pelvis here. Upper waist should be working, no tension anywhere else in the body. Good. And now pause that upper leg and draw in with your underneath leg. Think of this movement of happening near the groin. So rather than bringing your toes together, think of squashing your thighs together so that we work right up near the groin area. Good. Squeeze the legs together again and lower. If you'd like to pause here, you can, and repeat that section, which was a double leg lift, top leg lift and lower, hold it, and then the underneath leg does a lift and lower as well. Okay, so we're going to just swap over onto the other side. Head resting, spinal stack, lengthen the hips away. Starting with that deep hip rotation again. So we have little heel press and release. Now I'm just going to turn around and just show you where you should be feeling this. So we have our hip bone, our sitting bone, and it should be in between. Check that the bulk of your bottom is soft, the top of your hip is soft, and we want to feel it in between those two areas as we just press the top heel down. Remember, it's almost going to look like you're not doing anything to an outsider because the leg's not going to be moving. So we have that little press. Good, then we're going to hover the feet coming into our clams. Keep the heel connection, and again, make sure the bottom is soft. So we've got heels connecting together, front of hip is soft also. Especially if you're used to palpating this from your classes, just check in and make sure that we're not gripping excessively through the front of the hip in TFL especially, and that we're working into the back of the hip. Long spine, underneath waist lifted, head and neck in line with the body. Thinking of that ball rolling back in the socket. Nice and slow. Good. Coming down, lengthening the legs away from you now, in line with the body. Deepen your connection, hover both legs and hold. Then lifting the top leg. So again, if you want more of a challenge, we can hold the waist. If you want more of a challenge here, guys, you can always raise your hand up. Picture drawing a line on the wall on the far side. So we lift and lower, lift and lower. Feeling the work here on the outside of the hip in glute med. Check you're still in your spinal stack, pubic bone, navel, breastbone. Upper waist is working continuously with this one. And then hold, underneath leg comes up and down, squeezing from up near your groin. So again, our focus is squeezing here. Beautiful. Good. As mentioned previously, you might want to pause now and repeat that sequence through maybe 2 or 3 times. If not, then we're going to be changing our position. Okay, so we're going to come down onto our tummy now. You may want to rest your head on your hands or alternatively onto a towel. We're going to be starting to focus into glute max activation. So resting down, little press of pubic bone into the floor to open the low back, deep tummy connects. We're going to bend the knee and then using your glutes, little bit of activation, small hover and down, release. Glutes kick in, hover. So imagine your toe being pulled up to the ceiling. It's a small movement. We want to maintain the pelvis nice and still and level. No activation coming on in the upper neck and head. Can you maintain your deep tummy contact and pubic bone press? And then we're going to lengthen the leg away from us and lower. So bend the knee, hover up, lengthen away and lower. Bend the knee, hover up, lengthen away, lower. Bend the knee, hover up, lengthen away, lower. You should be felt literally in the glutes, little bit of hamstrings. No tension in the low back, head, neck or shoulders. Let's come on to the other side. So bending the knee, squeeze the glute, small hover and down. Squeeze, lift, down. Keep that press down through the pubic bone. And we want to feel that the pelvis stays nice and level here. That there's no tilting or arching in the back. Glutes, hamstrings, float. Then coming into the extension. Hover, extend, and down. Release, bum, hover, extend, and down. Bending, floating, extending, and down. Last time. Okay. Taking our awareness now to the upper body. We're going to have a chest lift and arm lift together. So we're going to start with our arms out to the side at 90-90. We have a small hover of the upper chest and then hover the arm. Lower the arm, hover the other one, lower and return. Pubic bone press, deep tummy connect, hover. Small hover of the arm and down, small hover of the other and down and lower. Now we haven't got much activity happening in the glutes here at this particular time. This is mainly all upper back, across the scapulars, through the arms. Just check in that your arm is level on the floor as well, that we're not lifting like this. It isn't a big squeeze through the shoulder blades either, it's a sense of breath. So keep broadening out to the sides. Okay, now we're going to add an arm reach on now. So we hover, and then reach forwards, come back, forwards, come back, third time, and lower. Hover the chest, hover the arm, reach forwards, squeeze back, forwards and back, forwards and back, and lower. As an advancement, we can add the opposite leg in with a variation of swimming. So we're going to hover the chest, reach forwards, and as we pull back, we squeeze the leg. We lower, we squeeze back up. We lower, squeeze back up, and then lower the body. So we have chest and arm hover, reach forwards, squeeze the elbow back in and simultaneously lift the opposite leg. Lower the leg, reach the arm, squeeze the leg, squeeze the elbow. Lengthen, shorten, lengthen, shorten, and release. And again, hover up, hover reach, squeeze back. I'm pulling back with my elbow here. Lengthen the leg and arm, pull back the elbow and leg. Reach, connect back. Reaching forwards, connect back. And lower Last time. Hovering up, reach, coming back, lengthen, shorten, lengthen, shorten, and rest. Good. Nice work. We're going to change our position now and come onto our back. If you need something under your head, like the towel, then place it there, go get it ready. So running through our supine position check, maybe a couple of tilts forwards and back, and find middle pelvis. Nice heavy rib cage, neck is long, chin tucked, and just have a reminder of where your breath is coming from. Good. Now we're going to come straight into tabletop. So fold up one knee, deepen your connection, and fold the second. And then we come into alternating knee fall out. So make sure your pelvis is level, slow knee fall out, and then back to center. Slow knee fall out, and back to center. So remember, as you continue, we've got knee coming out, back in again. Knee out, and back in. But the pelvis is going to remain steady and still throughout. So we maintain our natural spinal curves. If you want to, more of a challenge, we can add in an opposite arm. Exhale, open. Inhale, return. Exhale, open. Inhale, return. Tummy connects. It releases slightly. But we want to feel that drawing down of the tummy as we balance on our grape or maintaining our low back curve at the same time. From here, arms down, coming into our single leg stretch. Exhale, inhale, elongate. And just like when you always do single leg stretch, you can vary your height a little bit to challenge the tummy. Just making sure that your low rib cage and pelvis remain connected. You melt down, elongate, and come back. Melt and elongate, come back. Melt, elongate, come back. Melt and elongate, and come back. So maybe you may be able to get lower as long as you keep your spinal alignment and we don't have any lifting. It shouldn't be felt in the hip flexors, guys. This is all lower tummy. We're going to come now into our hip twist, legs together. So squeeze them in. Peel with the pelvis, coming over, hover, and re-stick. So remember, cueing wise, we lift from the pelvis, elongate up and out of that top leg, and then return back in again. Rolling over, lift out of the top leg and pelvis, and coming back in. Elongate, roll over, lengthen out of the top leg, and return back in. Lengthening over, and return back in. And once more, rolling over, and back in. Maybe adding in a leg now, so just elongate that top leg away from you, hold, bend, and return. Rolling over, lengthen, elongate, bend in, and return. Rolling over, elongate, shoulders are flat and glued to the floor. Come in again, and return. Last time. Lengthen, really push away. Come back in and return. Lower one leg and then the other. We're just going to come into some bridging and single leg bridging work. It's not a huge supine series today, but working into the back of the hips and our posterior line. So we're going to drive up with a straight spine. So that means pubic bone, navel, breastbone remain equal distance, or pelvis and rib cage. Push down through your heels. Come up into your bridge position. Come down to a hover and then drive up again. So we're going to come into single leg bridge straight away. Slowly transfer your weight to your right heel and left shoulder. So we're pushing down here, and then we're going to come into a knee fold. Hold this position, check your pelvis is level, your ribs are connected down, and equal distance pelvis ribs. Lower the foot, transfer the weight, right heel, left shoulder, pause, come back to center, lower the spine, driving up again, transfer, pause, hold, check in with the body, lower, transfer, hover. Good, so you can continue with this, or you can come into multiple taps. A little bit more challenging because it's more dynamic. So it'll be here, tap, return. Again, this needs to remain level and still. No dipping through the pelvis. And transfer, other side. Push down through that opposite shoulder. So it's this hip to this shoulder as we pivot up and down. Good. And you can repeat that a few more times if you want to. If you want to press pause and go through that a couple more times. If not, we're going to be changing position again. Okay, so we're coming into 4-point kneeling now. So let's run through our setup. Knees will be under the hips, wrists, elbows, shoulders stacked. Low ribs connected and tail lifted slightly to give us our spinal curve. So just check in with your breathing here in this position. Couple of scapular sets just to have a feel of where your shoulder blades are on your rib cage. Good. And then once we're there, we're going to come into our arm and leg lift. So simultaneously, slide fingertips and toes, and then hover. Hold this position. Make sure your shoulder platform is level. Feel the connection through your supporting arm, opposite pec, through to your inner thigh on the other side. And then come back in. Other side, connect toe and finger touch, and hover. Keep the rib cage connected up, tail lifted. Make sure you're not sinking into your low back. And come back in. Finger and toe touch, hover. And back in. If you want to, you can add on an arm and leg variation where you just take them both to the side. Just a little bit. Maybe like 10 degrees, 10, 15 degrees. So we point, we hover, we take the arm and the leg to the side and return. With this exercise though, we want to try and keep, again, the pelvis is level. So we're thinking of tray of drinks balanced on your shoulder blades. We're thinking tray of drinks balanced on your pelvis. Good. We're just going to make this a little bit more dynamic. We're going to be sitting back towards the heels and then driving forwards into an arm and leg lift. Then we're going to sit back, drive forwards and hit the position. Sit back, drive forwards and hit, sit back, drive forwards and hit. Now take the arm and leg on an outside or to the side vector. So this is going to vary your balance challenge, your rotatory challenge. Good. Okay. Going to come into an offset sit back now. So take your left knee forwards a little bit, your left hand forwards a little bit and tuck your left toes under. And then we're just going to allow the pelvis to come backwards towards the heels and then forwards again. Just check with this exercise that you are always traveling in a linear pattern and that your hips aren't drifting over to the right or the left. So from front on, we're offset and we sit back and stay in a straight line here. Coming forwards, oozing into this position. Swapping sides, right forwards, right hand, right toes tuck. Just make sure it's not a very big offset here. We're not all the way up here. It's just a small offset. And then again, slowly sitting back. Gentle rotation in the pelvis. Last one. Good. Okay. We're going to be moving now and into standing. Okay, so now in a standing position, we want to have a quick check through of our posture. So feet parallel, tripod foot, knees soft, hips back over, pelvis neutral, breastbone aligned or pubic bone navel breastbone stack, broad collarbones and lengthening at the base of the neck. We're going to come into a small lunge pattern, so split stance. About 90% of your weight is on the lead leg. Keeping the spine long, we're going to come into a lunge, hold, and come up again. So, weight over the front leg, and come up. I'm just going to show you from side on. We pivot, and we come here. So most of our weight is here, we hold, we come up. Pelvis is going to stay level in all three planes of motion. So pelvis is level here, no hiking. It's level here, no rotation. And watching that we don't tuck our bum underneath. We keep it in a nice neutral position. So you should still be going with your lunges at the moment. Now we're going to progress now, so we come forwards, transfer the weight, single leg balance, toe touch back, and return. Everything remains the same. We just transfer, come into a balance, back, return up. Pivot, transfer forward balance, come back, return from side on. Pivot, the weight comes forwards, hover, return back, up we come. Nice long spine. Watch as well, guys, that this gap stays the same and that we don't flex, so you don't end up with this picture. Really long. Create space through the body. Onto the other side. Set up, pivot down for 2, hold for 2, come up for 2. Pivot and lower for 2, hold for 2, and come up for 2. Side on. Long spine, pivot down, hold, return, pivot lower, and hold, and return back up. Stay with this or come into the weight transfer. Hold, back, return. Deep tummy connect, hover, back, return. So keep that deep tummy connecting as we come forwards, back, and up, and we pivot, whoops, forwards, back, coming up. Good. We're going to take that now into a 3D lunging component. So we have forwards, side, back diagonal, back. We're going to come into a running man motion. So all together, starting on this side. Forward lunge, return to center. Come to the side, transfer your weight over this leg, come back to center. We're going to turn around and do a transverse lunge where the body faces that way. And then we're going to come in reverse. Now either hold this position or keep on coming forwards and backwards in an opposition running motion. Good. Other side. Coming forwards, to the side, rotation back, and then either hold this rear lunge, again the weight is forwards, or Come in and out of it in a running man motion. Let's repeat again. Other side. Forwards, to the side, back diagonal, either hold or continue. And swap. Forwards, to the side with a low reach, back diagonal, and then reverse. Opposition. Oops. Opposite arm to leg. So again, you can pause and continue that exercise if you want to. We're going to move on otherwise into a pendula. So from side on, we start feet connected and our step. Bend, slide one leg away, and then slowly lift the leg and hover. So we want a long line from the foot, through the leg, through the body and the head. I'm not very low. Touch down, return. Point, lift. Touch, return. We want to see a good shift of weight over this foot. Pelvis is level, and then we lift. If you want to, you can extend your arms back and out. And then return. Pivot, extend. Now for those of you that have done this a lot and are a little bit more advanced, we can rotate bow and arrow towards the standing leg. Allow your pelvis to follow this motion, and you will feel this load quite considerably into the weight-bearing glutes. I only do this if you're familiar with pendula or you've done it for quite a few sessions. So it'll be pivot, lengthen, hover, and then as I rotate, the pelvis drops as well, and I come back up. Again, if you want to, pause and continue with these repetitions with your training. The last thing we're going to look at is a little bit of dynamic balance with the arms. So the first variation, we're going to be quite static with our balance position. So transfer, single leg stand, pubic bone, navel, breastbone stack, lengthening. We're going to challenge our balance by moving our arms in a forward and back direction. We're then going to challenge our balance by moving our arms in a side-to-side direction. And then in front of us, rotating the arms left-right. Good. Swapping. Balance. Find a good position. Keep a focal point in front of you. And then add your arms. Side to side. And rotate. Good. So you can repeat that if you want to, or we can add some movement into the lower limb also. So this time back onto one leg, both arms go together. Now notice now my pelvis is moving as well. So as the arms move forwards, the pelvis moves forwards, the arms come back, the pelvis moves back. So this is a dynamic balance challenge. We then come side to side, and again the pelvis moves. It's going from left to right to counter the motion of the arms. I then come into rotation. Keep your eyes forwards here. This is probably the most difficult. Allow the foot to move on the floor. So we have the foot doing its little foot dance of pronation, supination, leading up the leg and into the arms. Onto the other side, and we have high, low. And the point of this is not to be perfect. It's to be able to get out of our base of support, but come back again to the center. what we don't want to be doing, or what happens when we fall, is we come out of our base of support and then just continue. See if we can rotate as well. Good. So let's just finish off this class with a few roll downs with foot variations. So I have our feet parallel. Start with your high, mid, low neck. Curl through the thorax, the lumbar segments. Finally the pelvis tilts and we hang down. Take a breath and curl back up again. I'm going to do the same roll down now with the toes in and the heels out. Exhale, curling down. Resting here and hanging. Release the neck. And curl back up. And we're going to do our final one with our feet really wide. Lengthening up. Drop the chin. Curl down. And then maybe walking around to one foot. Walking around to the other. Have a little bounce through your system. And slowly curl up. So if my voice didn't carry, that was just a little bounce. Feel that gentle elastic property of your system. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that class. And remember, you can keep on pausing this video and continuing with your repetitions, or just work on one area if you want to. Thank you.